So, in case you didn't know, Microsoft actually had or has a shareholder vote or board meeting coming up regarding Bitcoin and putting Bitcoin on Microsoft's balance sheet. Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy have done this strategy, and he has made a presentation to talk to the Microsoft board as to why they should do this strategy. Obviously, he's all about this. He's done it with his own company, and we're going to watch it's a 3-minute video talking to this board and see if it would convince you to buy Bitcoin or convince you of Bitcoin. If you're on the edge, on the fence, maybe this stuff from Saylor will push you over.
Microsoft can't afford to miss the next technology wave, and Bitcoin is that wave. Bitcoin represents the greatest digital
All right, we're flying
transformation of the
through
21st century. It
things
represents
through
digital
slides here.
capital.
Holy.
The global wealth is distributed across assets that provide utility and others that preserve capital.
All right, so this I think is a number we're going to be holding on, and I guess he feels like there is no time for 3 minutes. We are flying through these slides. You barely can even look at them. But this is 450 trillion for utility, 450 trillion for store of value. So what Bitcoin would be going after is, I mean, you could make an argument for both, but we'll focus on the store of value one. I think that's something that obviously people can wrap their head around, at least for Bitcoin here. This might be more difficult for them to wrap their head around.
But risk is destroying trillions of dollars of that capital every single year. And investors are turning to digital capital in the form of Bitcoin in order to avoid that risk. Digital capital is economically and technically superior to physical capital, and it represents a revolutionary advance in capital preservation. The asset class itself is growing from trillions to.
All right, so I guess this would have, I would assume, his own prediction in here. $280 trillion for Bitcoin. It's crazy that, that's a crazy number, but I mean, like it's not crazy. I could see that happening, especially 2045, 20 years. Like, you look at all these other types of things, equities markets, 850 trillion. So this, I'm going to assume, is him mapping out like growth to 2045 for all of these as well. Real estate is massive. I think currently it's like 900 something trillion. So over a quadrillion in real estate, bonds, money. So just straight up, I don't know if this is money. It's got to be like M2, like money flowing around the world. Art is still 110 trillion and gold 45. Like Bitcoin at $280 trillion might look or sound crazy, but it's really not. Like if there's this adoption that comes and companies want to start using it and countries start using for store value stuff, it gets really crazy really quickly.
Hundreds of trillions of dollars, and it is backed by digital power along with political and economic power. It makes sense for Microsoft to be powered by digital capital. Bitcoin's the best asset you can own. The numbers speak for themselves. It makes a lot more sense to buy Bitcoin than to buy your own stock back or to hold Bitcoin rather than holding bonds. If you're going to outperform, you're going to need Bitcoin. And those bonds are undermining your options market and your equity liquidity. Luckily, you have an alternative. Public support for Bitcoin is.
All right, so I mean, we are flashing through these things, so I mean, you can pause the video and like look at more in depth. I'm kind of like scanning these over as he's talking, but I think we got like AI Michael Saylor. I don't know if you can't see him. I mean, this is, he's got a little Michael Saylor in the corner here talking. He's got no rhythm in his voice. He's just talking like an AI. But for this, public entities holding Bitcoin, so. Obviously, a bigger factor of acceptance of Bitcoin. It used to be career risk, used to be don't even talk about it, and now you got obviously massive things happening. ETFs already have over 1 million Bitcoin between them, so that's insane. Now, that's not one company owning it, right? An ETF is a collection of people owning it, so a little bit different than these other ones, but countries 530,000 Bitcoin. The US has like 200 something thousand, maybe 300,000, but they have massive amount. China even has like over 100,000 or something. So they don't say they're holding it like strategically. It's confiscated Bitcoin, but they still have it nonetheless. Private companies sitting here at 360,000, public companies at 440,000, and mining companies at 70,000. Which the mining ones have an interesting thing because obviously they're mining Bitcoin, but some of them decide, on top of mining Bitcoin, we might as well buy it and put it on our balance sheet, and it'll actually be better. It'll be better to buy Bitcoin than mine Bitcoin. It's a weird thing, but we'll see how that impacts everything. But for public entities holding Bitcoin is over 2.6 million Bitcoin, which is a like unfathomable amount of Bitcoin. So it's clearly accepted by the institutions and by masses of people as a store of value at the bare minimum.
Surging, as is political support, as is support for the US Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, as is Wall Street support. And the President of the United States says,
never sell your Bitcoin.
that's
Never
why we're
sell your
entering year
Bitcoin.
one of the crypto renaissance. And you have a choice to make: cling to the past or embrace the future. Divest billions of dollars and slow your growth rate. Invest billions of dollars and accelerate your growth rate. You've surrendered hundreds of billions of dollars of capital over the past 5 years, and you've just amplified the risks that your own shareholders face. If you want to escape that vicious cycle, you're going to need an asset without counterparty risk.
That's
What if you could buy a
Bitcoin.
$100 billion company growing faster than Microsoft for 1 times revenue? What if you could keep doing it every single year? It's time for Microsoft to evaluate its Bitcoin strategic options. We've created an open source model.
All right, so this is well,
You can
he already
plug in
says
your
here.
own assumptions.
So he's just talking about his own model. Obviously, Microsoft or MicroStrategy did this first, so they kind of have the ins and outs. He helped Elon Musk actually and Tesla put Bitcoin on the balance sheet and stuff. So he's helped companies do this. Clearly, he's like talking fast, trying to get these points through because he only has 3 minutes. So that's the problem. Is if you ever heard Michael Saylor talk, he can talk and talk and talk, but so getting the points across in 3 minutes kind of difficult. But for this stuff, like we're coming near the end here. For some of this stuff, Microsoft adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet, to their balance sheet, would be massive for Bitcoin itself and for adoption. Just one of the biggest companies in the world doing this strategy and putting a even a little bit of even 1% of their cash in Bitcoin is saying just in case this thing turns into something, we might as well have a little bit. That would be massive and could push Bitcoin even further and push other companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, the other big tech companies to follow in their steps, right? Someone's got to open the door first. And I don't think it's going to be Microsoft, but maybe it is.
Your own assumptions. You can convert your cash flows and your dividends and your buybacks and your debt into Bitcoin. If you do that, you'll add hundreds of dollars to the stock price. You can create trillions of dollars of enterprise value.
What does this say? Microsoft trillion, $5 trillion. So off of his own model of like, I don't really like this maxi, double max, triple maxi stuff. When he's talking about with regular people, like levering up and stuff. With a company, maybe it's a bit different, but this is also assuming like I'm a Bitcoin bull, love Bitcoin. I think it's going up forever, Laura, and we're gonna see this thing go to crazy numbers that people never expected to see. But this is assuming that it goes up, and I don't like making assumptions in investments. I think it's a dangerous game because you make the assumption when you go into, especially when you go into debt and say we're gonna issue debt for this. You have to assume it's gonna go up, and if it doesn't, you come into massive problems. But so far, it's been right. So far, it's only gone up.
Value. You can strip away risk from your shareholders, and you can prosper on the Bitcoin standard. So do the right thing for the world
Do the right
and
thing.
adopt Bitcoin.
All right, so that is it. That is Michael Saylor presents Bitcoin to Microsoft. See, a lot of people thing was good. I think
Microsoft.
it's a good presentation to kind of get through it. I think maybe playing towards the audience is going towards, right? So it's not very upbeat. Like it's not going to be like a great YouTube video or something. If you put this out there, people aren't going to be staring at this saying, "Oh man, I'm super engaged and entertained by this." But it gets the points across. Gets them across quickly. You only got 3 minutes, so all in all, I think it's a pretty good thing going on here. Pretty good description of Bitcoin and why they should own it. A lot of charts. You'd have to pause and look through the charts to actually like dig into them, but they look pretty good on the surface level here. So, did this convince you to buy Bitcoin if you're on the fence, or did it maybe improve things that maybe you weren't thinking about, or give you ideas of what Bitcoin could do for companies in this economic space, maybe? So, that's gonna do it for this video, though. As always, do make sure to and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.